Hello and welcome to my YouTube page, Don't Cross a Gay Man. If you are already one of my besties, welcome back. And if you just happen to stumble across my page, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Misha and I'm your new gay best friend. So today I wanted to talk about a topic that I have seen blowing up on social media, and that is people asking larger creators how they got started, how they built their following, what life is like afterwards. And so today I wanted to talk about how I gained over 1 million followers on TikTok in less than a year. And of course, being the storyteller that I am, I believe that context matters. So let's go back to the beginning and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I grew up in a really small town in Western New York, just outside of Rochester. And like little gay boys from country towns, I was drawn to the stage and I always wanted to be a singer and an actor. Basically, a bitch wanted to be a star. And I went to college for musical theater. And afterwards, I moved to New York City in 2008. And I was pretty lucky because I booked work almost immediately after getting down there. I did a national tour and then I did some regional theater work. But I was learning pretty quickly that these jobs did not pay that well, especially when you had to go back home to New York City. And a bitch was broke. I also got the life lesson that the theater community is not necessarily like the most welcoming. I had these dreams of Broadway, but I found that these larger casting companies and producers, they saw a leading man voice, my singing voice, but Misha was too gay. You know, I didn't have the Broadway body. I'm not a good enough dancer to be in the ensemble of a show. And they just couldn't get past the way I talked and presented myself. And because I didn't fit in their little box of being straight passing, I wasn't of any value to them. And that really did a number on my confidence because I wanted this my whole life. I knew that I had a talent that was bigger than a lot of people, a lot of boys that walked into the room, but I wasn't given the opportunity to show them. And it was maddening and frustrating, to say the least. And so I continued doing my small little jobs and partying really hard. And then in 2011 is when I got my first cruise ship gig. Well, I was doing this first cruise ship gig and I was making $1,000 a week, bitch. And I was like, I've made it. The drinks are cheap. I'm traveling the world. You know, like the work is easy. And, you know, for the first time in my life, I wasn't really worried about money. And so I did these cruise ships for years. And I would do one. I would go back into New York City in between and like maybe do a theater gig, a little national tour or something, and then head back out to the ship. But I wasn't fulfilled. This was not my dream. This was not my destiny. I felt like there was more potential that was untapped and being wasted. And so in 2018, I decided that I had to get sober. I had to stop drinking. I had to stop wasting my energy on things that did not serve me or serve, you know, my bigger purpose. So I stopped drinking. And then the plan was I was going to do a couple more ships and really save that money and move to London, England full-time to kind of start over in a new market and rejuvenate that sense of optimism that New York City and the theater scene there had kind of like snubbed out of me. And then of course, we all know what happened in 2020, COVID. And so I went home to my parents thinking it was going to be a couple weeks, and we all know how that worked out. So now picture me in my parents' spare room in, April now of 2020, a month into it, bored out of my mind. And it was the first time I had ever heard of TikTok. So like most millennials, I downloaded this app, and I don't know if you remember the For You page when you first opened that bitch, but it is wild. Like, right? It has not learned anything about you. And I was just seeing like 6-year-olds swearing and like 11-year-olds dancing. And I was like, I feel too old for this. And I think I made one stupid little video that didn't make any sense to me. I had no idea what I was doing. And I closed the app and I forgot about it. Cut to months later. It's like the end of summer 2020. And there are no performing opportunities on the horizon. I went back to school for nutrition. Like creatively, I felt dead. And so I was like, oh, everyone's still talking about this app, so there must be something to it if everybody's talking about it. And so I got back on TikTok, and I was making trend videos, dressing up, just dumb things that nobody was watching. I had like 300 followers, and they were all people that I actually know in my life, people that I worked with over the years. And then in January of 2021, I had my first viral video. Now, my OGs, they know this story very, very well, but as someone who is constantly gaining new followers, let me give you the spark notes of my first viral video. So in my adult life, I have never had a relationship with my sister. That last ship that I had been on in 2019, before I left for it, I left a bunch of things at my parents' house for safekeeping, one of them being like a $700-800 Louis Vuitton wallet. And when I returned home, I couldn't find that bitch anywhere. And I looked for it a few times and eventually just came to the conclusion that I must have actually brought it with me. When I was in England for rehearsals, I must have forgot it, left it in a drawer, and you're fucking stupid, Misha. Now it's January 2021, and my sister's dating some new guy, and I see on Facebook she posts a picture of her and him and her 2 kids at an ice cream shop, and sitting on the table is my Louis Vuitton wallet. So I contact her, I'm like, I would like that back. She acts super entitled that she should be allowed to keep it because I haven't worried about it for this long. And then told me that I was not her priority. She refused to give it back. So I ended up calling the cops, sending them to her work to collect my shit. And I told the story on my social media. It was the very first time I ever said lesson to not crossing a gay man. It was just something I said because don't come between a gay man and his fancy things, right? And the video quickly went over 1 million views, and there were these 2 arguments in the comments. One with people being like, yeah, I hate thieves, and the other one being like, snitches get stitches. But I was like, okay, people are resonating with this video. So then I fell into the trap that most normal people fall into after going viral on TikTok. I was just posting all of these trend videos. I was jumping on the so LA, are you calling me or am I calling you? So cringe. And because those weren't working or doing well, just repurposing and retelling the story that went viral. But this was not feeding anything, bitch, and it was not working. But back in those days, a 1.4 million view video got me 30,000 new followers. So that was cool. So now we get to the second wave of my channel. I had 2 more little series, both very similar, that people kind of resonated with, that went viral. And both of them were with companies. So over the pandemic, I was working at Lululemon because the bitch's savings dwindled and I needed some money. The company's core values and the store that I worked at and my values did not match, and I left the company. I spoke out about it and people really resonated with those videos. I think because, they're not inclusive and a lot of people feel beat down and excluded. My other one was with IKEA. I was going through a whole bunch of legal troubles and battles with them. And I think especially during the pandemic, a lot of people were dealing with frustrations with certain large businesses. I got a lot of attention from those. I got a lot of followers from those. Because I was getting a lot of attention, a lot of views with those certain things, I told another story very similar to the setup of when I told the one about my sister. That one did really well. And I was realizing in the comments that people were loving the sass. They were loving the humor part of it, that kind of insult comedy, but that there was something beneath it, right? So it was around this time that I changed my handle to Don't Cross a Gay Man. This is an important choice that I made because I looked through hashtags and I realized that Don't Cross a Gay Man did not exist. And I was like, oh, if I come up with my own branded hashtag that's just mine and that's my name, then that's me. I've created something on this little app that I can call my own. And so that was the birth of Don't Cross the Gay Man. And that's when I started a lot of my videos, especially the ones that were anecdotes from out in the world and the anti-bullying. Started with lessons in not crossing a gay man. And also at this time is where I started a series on celebrities, like rude celebrities, particularly that I had encountered at like an old survival job back in New York City. And I mean, hello, Perez Hilton, hello, TMZ. People love that kind of shit. So those went really, really viral. But it was like not who I wanted to be. So I just really kind of focused on my lessons in not crossing a gay man. And also at this time is where I started going live every day and really, really interacting with my besties and really interacting with the people that were there for me every single day. And I think this was a really important step in cultivating a culture of trust and connectedness. So then comes the next chapter, and that is when the cruise ship industry restarted and I was asked to go out on a ship. And I needed to go because I absolutely needed the money. But, you know, I had my partner, we had my dog Augie, he's designer, and it was a hard decision, but I needed to go. So away I went to the Caribbean. So now I'm back on the ship. At this time I have like 400,000 followers. And, you know, I'm now known more for standing up against people. People, like 400,000 people know me for lessons in not crossing a gay man. And I'm on the ship, and about a month into it, there were no passengers on yet. We were still figuring everything out on the ship with just the crew. There was an incident in June where one department wanted to throw a pride party, and higher ups on the ship suppressed that idea because they said that other men might be uncomfortable with a pride party. And I was like, no, bitch, I'm not having that. And so I made a TikTok video expressing my frustration. This was like a mixed bag moment for me. So on the one hand, the pride party did happen. People around me, especially the ones from different countries where being gay is still like a death sentence, they were able to have their pride party and they were able to feel proud of themselves and be celebrated. However, the production company that I was working for and the ship, they all of a sudden had their fucking eyeballs on me, and they did not like that I had 400,000 followers. They did not like the kind of content that I was putting out. This was like a 6-star cruise line, like it's like the Ritz-Carlton of cruise lines. And so when you talk about image matters to these people, image matters to these. Again, all of a sudden they really wanted to put me into their little box. But I no longer wanted to be in a little fucking box. I wanted to create my own box. So I just kind of had this fuck it moment where I was like, what are you gonna do? Fire me? There's nobody else on the world who can get on this ship right now because of all the COVID restrictions and who knows the shows. So I'm just gonna continue making my content, and if you don't like it, that sounds like a you problem. And so I had 6 months where I was just like making content. And if you have never been on a cruise ship, I was not without inspiration and an arsenal of content ideas. And again, I was still going live, I was building my following, and I really, really started to see it explode. Also during this time is where something really magical happened. And that's when I started to get an influx of like DMs and comments and messages from people saying that my videos were helping them. I was just like, I just remember sitting there and it almost like it happened overnight. There was just like one day I like looked at my messages and I was like, how do I have all these messages from complete strangers on the internet, like trusting me to share how they're feeling and what they're going through and how my content is helping them. And I was like, this just feels right. It just felt right. And at the same time, I had made the decision myself and then also with my partner that I would never do a cruise ship again, that I had changed fundamentally and we no longer worked together. And so I was waiting for my contract to finish. I was going to see it through. I was going to see what the next steps were. And then right before, like the last month of me being on the ship, I saw wild growth. on my TikTok. I had a string of very, very popular videos. I was seeing hundreds of thousands of followers. And I was like, I think by the end of the year, I'm going to hit 1 million followers. This is so crazy. And I was like, I think I should go, I want to go home and I want to try to see if I can do this full time and see if I can do this as a job. So now, cut to the contract ends. I'm like, peace out, cruise ships. I am done with you. I got home, me and my partner, we packed up our lives in New York and we moved to Texas. Over that last month and a half of the year, I continued to see some wild success, a lot of viral videos, and I hit my 1 million doing a live late at night. I celebrated and shared that moment with a few hundred people, a few hundred besties. And it was so exciting. And I just remember feeling like overwhelming pride. I just couldn't believe it. That being said, seeing 1.0 million followers on my TikTok did not change my life overnight. I see a lot of people in the comment sections on certain videos being like, I want to do this. I want to be a full-time content creator. I want to quit my job. And I will always support having a dream. And I just want to be very transparent with you all because I love you. You know, I had a lot of privilege that helped me be able to do this full time. One of that is that I have a partner who's very supportive, who has a good job. I was also making a lot of money on my own that I was able to live off of for half a year. The financial struggle was real. And it was not something like, just because I had a lot of followers did not mean the money was just rolling in. The apps themselves, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, they themselves don't pay out of a lot of money, certainly not a livable wage very often. But that being said, I continued to push and put myself out there. And I got my first manager and my very first brand deal, which ultimately did not work out, bitch. Well, the brand deal did, but the manager did not work out. I will make a whole other episode on that if we want. I got to film my first movie because I'm an influencer. Someone, my wonderful friend Candy Kane, cast me in one of her movies. I've done another one with her since. You know, theater became my side hustle. I did a national tour last year. I have some projects coming up that I can't tell you about yet, but I will be able to soon. But theater, that thing that was my passion and my only dream for so long has now become my side hustle. I love performing. I will always want to perform. I will always want to be in front of a crowd singing songs and telling stories and hearing laughter and hearing applause. It is just deep within me. But I know that that is me living out someone else's dream, and the pride that I have from running my own business and something that I created, and people celebrate me and join in with me in our laughter and our tears and our struggles and our triumphs is me. Right? I get to be myself. I don't have to be a pretend me. I don't have to be a false version of myself. I can just be Misha. And so, you know, that just seems more of a more truthful place to put my energy. And now I have 2 management companies that I work with. My primary set of managers are incredible. My life has drastically changed. I have so many things that I'm working on, things I could only dream of a couple months ago. And I'm so excited to share those things with you. And also a huge thing that I'm finding helps in cultivating and building a long-lasting relationship with your followers is sharing yourself and also diversifying platforms, bitch. Like, we all know the rumors about TikTok. And so I've spent a lot of time growing my Instagram, growing my Facebook, growing my YouTube, so that I have all these things. It's a full-time job, and I'm love doing it. So with that diversifying my platforms, I'm now at around 2.5 million followers across my platforms and growing every single day with no plans on stopping anytime soon. And I'm so excited for the future. I love you all. You have drastically changed my life. I could not be here. I could not have access to these opportunities without you. I will not let you down. And I'll stay true to who I am. And I'm so excited to see where this goes. So that's my story on how I got to 1 million followers in around a year. If you've enjoyed this story or you have any other questions on what it's like to be a content creator, please make sure to subscribe. Remember, take up space. You deserve it. I love you, besties.